Story 1. The Egg in the Wall. I've never told anyone this story in full before, not even my wife. But something about this time of year always brings it back. The smell of spring rain, the plastic crinkle of Easter grass, the way the sun hits just right on the trees. All of it brings me back to that house. It happened in 2014. My wife Jenna and I had just bought our first home together in rural Pennsylvania. It was a modest two-story farmhouse built in the late 1800s, and it needed some serious work, peeling wallpaper, creaky floors, and an ancient furnace that wheezed like a dying animal. We were excited, nervous, but excited. It felt like the kind of place you could really settle into. We joked that we'd raise our kids there one day. That spring, with Easter around the corner, we started fixing up what would eventually be the nursery, even though we weren't pregnant yet, just dreaming. That room was the coldest part of the house. I told myself it was just because of the old insulation, or lack thereof. Every time I walked in, I got that same feeling I used to get walking into my grandmother's basement as a kid, like the air itself was holding its breath. Anyway, one Saturday morning, I decided to take down the water-damaged drywall in the nursery and see what I was working with behind it. I didn't expect much, but behind one section of the wall, around chest level, I found something strange. It was a small cavity, like someone had intentionally carved a hollow space between the studs. Nestled inside was a single Easter egg, one of those old-school papier-mâché ones, maybe 4 inches long, hand-painted, faded pink and gold. It had a name written on it in loopy cursive, Elsie, Easter 1954. It was weird, yeah, but charming in a way. I thought maybe a kid hid it during a long-forgotten egg hunt, and it just stayed there. I showed it to Jenna. She got this uneasy look on her face, half nostalgic, half something else. We kept the egg on the mantle in the living room for a few days. Jenna didn't like it being in the nursery. The first weird thing happened that Tuesday night. I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of a baby crying. Let me be clear, we didn't have a baby. It was faint, muffled, like it was coming from somewhere deep inside the house. I got up, grabbed the bat I kept under the bed, we had no alarm system yet, and did a slow walk through. Nothing. Jenna was asleep the whole time, didn't hear a thing. I chalked it up to a weird dream or maybe a cat outside, but the next morning Jenna asked me,
"Did you hear that crying last night?"
I didn't answer right away. She looked at me with this haunted look in her eyes.
"It sounded like it was coming from the nursery,"
she said. That night, I moved the egg to the garage. I didn't tell her. I just did it, quietly. I didn't like the way she was starting to look at it, like it meant something. The next night, the crying got louder. It didn't sound like it was coming from inside the walls anymore. It sounded like it was in the damn hallway. We didn't sleep. On Thursday, Jenna was in the nursery painting the window trim when she called me in. She was holding something in her hand, another egg, but this one was different, plastic, newer. It had no paint, no writing, just a crack down the middle. It was in the closet, she said, tucked behind the baseboard. Inside the egg was a lock of blonde hair. We didn't know what to do with that. Who would? It was too specific to be some old decoration, too intentional. That night we didn't even try to sleep. We just stayed up on the couch watching TV with the volume up. Around 2:30 a.m., the hallway light flicked on by itself. Our breaker box was ancient, so I thought maybe it was just a short. I got up to shut it off. No big deal. As I passed the nursery door, I heard the crying again. But this time, it wasn't just crying, it was cooing. A soft voice, humming what sounded like a lullaby. The door was ajar just slightly. I pushed it open. No one was inside, but the room was cold, ice cold. You could see your breath. I stood there for a moment, frozen, my body refusing to take another step. Then I saw it, the original egg, the pink and gold one. I had left it in the garage, but there it was, sitting on the windowsill. Jenna was behind me. I didn't even hear her come up, but suddenly she was gripping my arm hard. "Where did you put the egg?" she whispered. Her voice was shaking. "In the garage," I said. "Swear to God." We left the house that night, drove to a motel 20 minutes away, and didn't go back for 2 days. When we did, we packed up everything from the nursery, tore the wallpaper, removed the baseboards, even checked under the floorboards. We found 5 more eggs, each one with a different name, all handwritten, all with dates between 1951 and 1956. One egg had a child's tooth inside. We called the county records office. I told them I was doing research on the house. They confirmed what we had already guessed. The original owners had 5 children, all girls. None of them survived past the age of 6. The house was eventually sold in a foreclosure after the last daughter's death in 1956. Cause of death? Unexplained seizure. Same as the others. We sold the house that summer. Took a loss. Didn't care. We never celebrated Easter again. And every now and then, I'll see one of those old-timey papier-mâché eggs at a flea market or in a thrift shop, and I'll feel that same chill in my spine. Sometimes I wonder if the new owners ever heard the crying, but I don't ask. I don't want to know. Story 2, The Backyard Bunny. I live in Boise, Idaho, suburbia, you know? Quiet street, neatly trimmed lawns. Everyone waves at each other during garbage day. It's the kind of place where nothing really happens, and that's always suited me just fine. This happened last year. My son Oliver was 6. It was Easter Sunday, and we decided to host a small egg hunt in our backyard for him and 2 of the neighborhood kids, Tyler and Gracie. Nothing big. Plastic eggs, some jelly beans, a few dollar store toys. I even hid a golden egg with $5 inside to make it exciting. Everything was going great until Oliver walked up to me with this weird look on his face. He wasn't excited or giggling like the other kids. He just looked confused, disturbed even. "Daddy," he said, holding something behind his back. This one wasn't like the others. He pulled out what looked like a handmade plush bunny. It was dirty and old, about the size of a paperback book. The fur was faded white, the eyes were dull plastic, and its mouth was sewn shut. Thick black thread crisscrossed the muzzle like a stitched wound. I figured it was trash. Maybe a dog toy some neighbor's pet dragged in. But Ollie insisted he found it inside a plastic egg buried near the fence. That didn't make sense. The bunny was way too big for the eggs we used. When I asked him to show me which egg it came from, he pointed to a spot near the lilac bush, one we hadn't planted anything around. I found a large plastic egg half buried in the dirt, not one of ours. This one was matte black, scratched up and slightly warm to the touch. I laughed it off. Thought maybe it was some old leftover from a previous year. Tossed the bunny in the trash and didn't think twice. That night, Oliver had his first nightmare. He came running into our room crying around 1 a.m. He said the bunny was in his closet whispering to him, whispering with a mouth that wasn't supposed to open. I stayed with him until he fell asleep, then went to the kitchen to grab water. On the way, I passed the laundry room and stopped cold. The bunny was sitting on top of the dryer. Same sewn mouth, same dirt-stained fur. I know I threw it away. I remember the clang it made hitting the bottom of the outside bin. I took it out again. This time I dropped it in a Ziploc bag and drove it to a dumpster behind the Safeway 3 blocks away. Tossed it in and went home. 2 nights later, Oliver said the bunny wasn't whispering anymore. It was watching, standing in the corner of his room. Its head would tilt when he talked. He started drawing it in his sketchbook, over and over. A white bunny with a wide black X where the mouth should be. The words, "Don't listen," scribbled above it. Jenna, my wife, wanted to take him to a child psychologist. She thought it was stress or a phase. I wasn't so sure. Then came the knocking. It was soft at first, not from the front door, from the walls, specifically from inside Oliver's room, just under the closet shelf. That was the night I lost it. I went out back with a flashlight around 2:45 a.m., retraced Ollie's steps to where he said he found the egg. I started digging, and after about 10 minutes, I hit something hard, a small wooden box, sealed shut. I pried it open with a crowbar. Inside were 3 things: another black plastic egg, a brittle photo of a child holding the same sewn-shut bunny, and a note that read, "Do not return what was taken." We moved out a month later. Oliver doesn't talk about the bunny anymore. He stopped drawing it. But he still won't open plastic eggs unless we shake them first. I don't blame him. Story 3. The USB egg. I'm in my 2nd year of college studying digital media. It's not glamorous, but I like messing with tech. Last Easter, I went with my roommate Eric to this odd little flea market downtown, the kind with booths that smell like incense and sell vintage VHS tapes and cracked Funko Pops. One stall had a cardboard box labeled "Mystery Eggs, $1 each." They were weird-looking plastic Easter eggs painted with random symbols, glitter-glued words like "truth" or "look closer." It felt like an art student's rejected thesis. I bought one on a whim. Pale blue, heavy, and sealed with packing tape. Inside was a USB flash drive shaped like a yellow chick. Back at our dorm, I plugged it into my laptop. There was one file on it, watchme.mp4. The video was low-res, grayscale, like it had been recorded through a cheap security cam. It showed a hallway, then a guy walks into frame, hoodie pulled up, holding a backpack. At first I didn't think anything of it, until I realized the hallway looked exactly like the one in our dorm. Same flickering ceiling light, same dented wall panel. Then the guy stopped at a door. My door. He stood there for a minute, glancing over his shoulder. Then he leaned in close to the peephole and just stared. He never knocked. Just stood there breathing. The timestamp in the corner said, April 8th, 2024, 2:16 a.m. That was tomorrow's date. I showed Eric. He thought it was a prank. Some weird IRG or viral thing. he said. But when I tried to scrub forward in the video, the file glitched. For a second, the screen went black, then came back on with a different timestamp. April 8th, 2024, 2:34 a.m. This time, the guy was inside the room. Inside. He stood over a bed. Mine, staring down. Then, he looked directly at the camera like he knew. I ejected the USB, threw it across the room, tried to shake it off. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2:14 a.m., I started hearing footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. I got out of bed, peeked through the peephole. No one was there. At 2:16 a.m., someone knocked once, just once. When I opened the door, the hallway was empty, but taped to the outside of my door was the same USB chick drive. I never plugged it in again. Transferred schools that summer. I still don't know if it was some elaborate prank or something more. I don't care. All I know is I'll never pick up a mystery Easter egg again. Easter eggs are meant to surprise you, but sometimes the surprise isn't fun. It's a warning. Or a glimpse into something you weren't meant to see. So the next time you find a plastic egg in your yard, your attic, or maybe your dreams, ask yourself, do you really want to know what's inside? Until next time, remember, midnight is never truly over.